I just did an entire intro and did not put me on here. Are you? How does this happen?
Oh, it happens. Don't sweat it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, sorry guys. I don't know if I should do the
Voila.
whole
Poof.
intro again. I do have a lot of housekeeping to do, so I kind of have to. Todd, can you sit for just a second?
You got it.
Oh my goodness, guys. Welcome to the Gateway Podcast, broadcast live from United Public Radio 107.7 FM, New Orleans. I'm your host, C.L. Thomas. Tonight we're joined by fellow host and author, EVP Explorations, Todd Bates. I have a little bit of housekeeping I have to do first before we get into that. So you've been listening to Into the Night with Sean Kelly. He comes on again on Sundays at 5 p.m. Pacific. It's currently 78 degrees here in the Mojave. I hope that everyone had an excellent Samhain. I teamed up with some friends here in B-Town and passed out candy and went trick-or-treating, that sort of thing. I really scaled back. So I don't know about all of you guys. I really have done some changes with the paranormal, and I'm just really scaling it back. I've dropped a lot of stuff. If you notice, I'm kind of thinning out a lot of my social media, kind of stepping back a little bit. And with that, I kind of thought about dropping this show as well, but I'm not going to do that. I am going to actually change it up. So starting next week, I'm going to have all new guests. It's not going to be paranormal investigators. It's going to be, I'm going back to my roots where, when I first started this, it wasn't about paranormal TV shows and it wasn't about ghost hunting. It was more about exploring life after death. And that's what this show is going to turn back into being. And with that, it's going to be a lot of authors and people that can discuss haunted histories, mysteries, spiritual growth, real experiencers. It's not going to be guests that are circuiting the Paracons. They will be fellow authors and real experiencers that have been ignored over the years by those in the limelight. So a lot of changes coming my way. Erie Expeditions Magazine, I have to give a quick update on that. That's been tabled until 2026. I decided to make a lot of changes with that as well and move it out of the paranormal community for many reasons. It's going to focus more on haunted histories, mysteries, and dark travels. And also, I'm going to be working with a few people from Travel Channel on that, not for TV. It's going to be strictly travel, and it's going to be no more paranormal investigation in it or hotspots or anything like that. So stay tuned. With that said, Todd Bates, he's a good friend. Welcome back to the show. He is from The Haunted Voice. We're talking about his new work, The Haunted Voice, Life After. This is more of an inner reflection of his journey down the paranormal road. Todd, I'm really excited to have you on the show.
Oh, it's great to be back. Thanks, CL. Holy cow. Your intro. I'm glad you repeated that. That needed to be said. That was well said. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, this community needs a ton of work. I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen some crazy things that this community's done. Nothing this crazy.
It's just gotten to be where it's nothing but these people in the limelight.
Yeah.
Taking money. And, I like to create, and my purpose in this is about creation and spirit, self-development, spiritual development, and exploring life on the other side, life after death. I've had friends pass away. It's very hurtful. It's taken me years to get over some of that.
Absolutely.
And
what happened to helping others? What happened to good old-fashioned community where we help one another solve a problem? The disconnect is unbelievable. The separation is unbelievable. And maybe some of those groups will stay far enough in that group where they just won't matter. But the ones that fight the good fight, the ones that are out there doing the legwork, the ones that are really studying, educating themselves, they're out there. It's almost as if they're hiding right now until the bullets die down. I
Yeah.
don't blame them.
Well, it's like you try to start anything and you get kicked in the face for it because
Oh,
somebody gets
jeez.
jealous. It's crazy. It's so crazy. It's the funniest thing, you know.
It is, and the community's fickle. I made a post the other day, CL. It was crazy. Somebody accused me of self-promoting myself. Well, for the love of Pete, I'm a self-published author. I have to promote myself.
It kind of comes with the territory, right? You write a book, you're supposed to promote your work.
I don't know.
But you know, it's funny because you can't do it, but then you have these paranormal celebrities that do it with everything.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't understand. It's almost as if the community's lost sight of what a celebrity even is. You know, just because you were on TV, does that mean you were a celebrity? Does that mean you're well known? Does that mean you should be well known? Of course it doesn't. You got to work your ass off for that kind of stuff. You know, and to have it handed to a lot of people because they're a certain likeness or because they can sign a certain poetic license, what have you. It's sad that they take advantage of a community that's so poor. Okay, so if you're in this for the money, folks, leave. You won't find it. You just won't find it. I've been here 25 years. Trust me, it's dust. It's not something you can pick and choose. What I've seen this community do is tear itself to pieces using social media, using bullying,
The
mocking
bullying.
others
And
just for sharing their evidence. That's why I created a community where they can safely share their evidence. It's not ridiculed by any stretch of the imagination. It's welcomed, as it should. This community needs shaken. It needs lifted upside down, flipped. Some of these people just need to take a flying leap off a bridge, you know, and just go. And they know who they are. That's the
oh yeah,
thing. That's why I don't think they'll be here for long.
there's a
The,
handful of them that need to just go ahead and go away already.
mhm. Yeah, they'll be here long enough to collect the resources from it, get what they need, monetize, and then they're done. Um, and that's what's sad. This community that is supposed to be about seeking the truth of life after death has turned into a monetized showboat of cons, of deception, um, just complete ridicule from social media itself, YouTube especially. It's terrible over there. It's a virus. And that's not how it is. And it's gotten to the point where, you know, the students over there that go through the free courses I have, they're so confused, CL, because I have a live chat system where they can ask me questions when I'm working on the site. And a lot of them come in so confused on the difference between EVP and ITC. And that is something that is so uniquely different, yet uniquely the same. It's somewhat confusing. But just
I
a
was
quick,
just, you know, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was just reading. There's a book I just read last night. I read a lot at night because can never sleep well.
sure.
So I read an entire book last night. This is what I do. It's
Yeah.
called Mediumship by Susan Barnes, and there's a whole chapter in there about the differences between EVPs and ITC. And I got to hand it to you. I didn't know it either.
Yeah.
I know what they both are, but I didn't know, you know, because I'm not
Yeah.
an investigator and that sort of thing. I guess I just never looked
EVP
at that.
EVP came first. Okay. It truly came first. Back in the 50s, that was discovered by Frederick Jurgensen, basically. He had captured a voice on his reel to reel recorder while recording bird songs. He was a film producer. Recording some bird songs, he captured a voice on there that just happened to be his own mother. Uh, so that's where it was born. EVP was born, electronic voice phenomenon. ITC came about later on, the late 60s, 70s, when television came about. Different radio signals came about, shortwave and such. And they would use those kinds of signals to, and it was ideally invented to, discovered to communicate with aliens, not necessarily spirits from the other side. But they seem to have come through. And what popularized it, of course, other than television, was in the mid 2000s, a Radio Shack hack is what it was called, came about. And this revolutionized the paranormal community, this Radio Shack hack. What it entails is a system that has several different radio bands on there, AM, FM, and it scans them at different speeds. And supposedly a spirit will come through on one of those bands. They would come through saying a fragmented piece of information or a full sentence even. We don't know if they ride the signals in or how it works without white noise. It's strange. But that's ITC, Instrumental Trans Communication. Anything using AM, FM bands, televisions, different recorders, different types of photography as well. A lot of that comes with ITC.
I'm really not sure what happened there. So sorry.
I thought I talked too much.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
I did something and it just.
Hey.
So, having some tech problems tonight. It's a full moon, guys. It's
going to happen.
Territory.
Bound to happen.
Continue what you were saying. I'm so sorry.
So, I mean, that's your differences. ITC, your Ghost Box, your Radio Shack hacks, Frank's Box back in the day, Frank Sumption, one of the originals. That's a box too, definitely research. But the difference is electronic voice phenomenon, or EVP. You have to have a recording medium, such as a digital recorder or a cassette recorder, to capture it. Its conversation is more delayed, as to where ITC is real time. You'll have it right then, right there. Estes method, ITC. You have the Ghost Box, which is ITC. Television's ITC. So with ITC versus EVP, you get less with EVP. However, yes, sir, they are.
I'm afraid that's me.
Yes, because there's a lot involved with the two, and it's an umbrella. We're under that umbrella. ITC has become larger than EVP. EVP used to be it. ITC was just kind of meh over here in the corner. Then it exploded with the Radio Shack hack and different devices that are made by people like Austin Maynard, for example. He's brilliant, this guy, brilliant developer. So those machines are used to capture, and they don't really capture unless they have SD cards. They're digital. Those devices are used to communicate with spirits in real time. An EVP machine, a cassette recorder, a digital recorder, those are going to be delayed conversations. But the EVP are going to be more credible, I feel. They're going to be a lot more clear and pronounced, especially on an analog device, magnetic tape. And people are going to pay more attention to one of those than they would something captured off a bounced AM signal that could be anything. It could be anything. Yet, an EVP could be anything as well. However, one is more credible than the other at this point.
Well, Todd, I was really hoping to get into your book tonight and a little bit about you and your paranormal journey.
Love to.
Not to completely change the subject or anything.
Love to.
But your new work, The Haunted Voice, Life After. In a nutshell, what is this book about?
Well, the Life After, it's a continuation of the Haunted Voice series. It's a 2-part series right now, working on a 3rd part. What it entails, it's an autobiography similar to most memoirs you guys read about, except my story is a little bit different. It's a lot different. And my story is one of becoming at your lowest. Just think of yourself at your lowest point and building yourself up. And I'd kept this within myself for I don't know how many years. And with a lot of therapy, they convinced me to write this book. Right. And it's just, I didn't just want one book because things changed so much. My life has changed. The paranormal has changed, which it does have a lot of paranormal in it as well. But the book itself is a story of an individual that overcame their lowest point, fought through it, tooth and nail, and came out a lot sharper, a lot more in tune with their spiritual self, a lot more in tune with the spiritual world, as to where the first book was about, of course, my life in prison that I spent. The second book goes into more detail about that, is what people wanted. They got that. A lot more detail with that. From working corrections and then finding myself behind bars. That transition in itself and being alone, that amount of time in there, I spent 18 months in prison. It was terrible. And to be isolated in corrections, I was trained to get out of the electronic cells. So they had to put me under lock and key. And
Did you actually do that? Did you get out?
I have, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I've popped out of cells several times. The electric ones. There's two ways. But, since I had that knowledge, they had to put me under what's called the Folger Adams key, which is a huge, you're in there. You're not getting out. And when you're in a place like that, you have nothing but time. Time doesn't exist anymore. Like we would think, oh, I get to go home in a half hour. Well, try to put 18 months on a clock. You can't do it. So you have to piece it out or you're going to go insane. And I thought I was. I thought I was genuinely going insane while sitting in the cell. I began to hear things, hear people talking, and they were real close to me. It was clear as a bell. And I didn't know what to think of it. I was skeptic. I didn't believe in any of this stuff. But I kept hearing it, and they were little voices, and they weren't telling me to do bad things. They weren't saying anything. They were incomplete messages. Every single one of them were usually incomplete messages. Now, personally, I thought I was going insane within those walls. So I talked to the doctor there at the prison, and they had put me on a medication for schizophrenia. I'm not schizophrenic, CO, by any stretch of the imagination. Bipolar, yes. Schizophrenic, no. But that's in the end what happened is they prescribed the medicine. I took the medicine. I don't hear them anymore. They go away. And to this day, they continue to go away because I'm on a medicine very similar to what I was taking back then. And that helps me with impulsive episodes from the bipolar disorder. But it also, what I've learned, completely clouds my mind. And that's something that I'm trying to develop past so I can get through to the spirit world again like I used to before I took this medication. Now that the medication's there, I'm finding the results aren't, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, do you think those voices, do you think they were from spirit or were they from... So they were from spirit?
I definitely think so. Now, back then I had no clue. Now I know they are. And I've been in denial about that for so long. Close-minded to it, if you would. I have enough going on. I don't need to hear other people's problems. So I just kind of... So it's and being on that medication, which I'm supposed to take that the rest of my life, of course. Is that going to continuously filter them out? Are they going to find a way through? I mean, they haven't. I haven't heard those, and it's not your schizophrenia is cured. No, it's I'm not schizophrenic. So that's the irony of it.
It could
I'm
very
not
well
hearing
be just the
voices, but once it,
medication. It could be the medication just kind of doesn't let your brain go into that vibrational, or maybe it's
mhm,
harder for you to reach that vibrational state
yeah,
to connect with spirit. Is that possible?
I think that's very possible. Almost as if it's a side effect on how it numbs whatever whatever I used to produce in the past, whatever, if it was a dopamine, whatever you want to call it, prior to an EVP session, I would open the session with a prayer, with some kind of homage, something, and I would connect. I would almost feel myself like a seatbelt. Okay, I'm in there. Let's ask some questions. Let's have some conversations. Now it doesn't feel that connection is there. I feel it's more distant than what it used to be. And it's a higher dose of the medication. And I feel that's the big problem. So I've got to learn somehow mentally to get past that and reconnect with the spirit world like I used to. And I feel my results are going to reflect that. Sherry and I have been out several times. Now, we did capture a few great ones, but mostly no. I would say our evidence faltered because of it, and it
Have
could be
you
because of my mind.
have you ever tried like hemisync or binaural beats?
I've heard of them. I've heard of them, and I've used binaural beats in the past, and they are very good. And that may be something to kind of tune this out and tune this back in, because something is blocking something somewhere. I'm not claiming to be psychic. I'm not saying I see the future or anything like that, folks. Just saying that, I heard things in the past that were quite audible. They were not like anything in any way, shape, or form like an EVP capture. They were clear as you and I talking, but they were fragmented. And, again, I thought I was losing my mind. The medication clouded it. And I feel that my investigations have suffered because of that. And a lot of that that you'll read in the book, the struggles through there, hearing the voices and things in the cell, it sets you on a path, CL. Being in there by yourself for that period of time, you have to kind of rip your insides out, clean them, and put them back in. You have plenty of time to do that, but you have to do that in sections. You can't just like a Band-Aid. So I kind of rebooted like a computer while I was in there. And my thought process, because as soon as I started hearing those voices and then didn't hear them any longer, I had that interest. Okay, I'm going to continue. I'm going to figure out why I'm hearing this, why this is going on. I want to find out about the spirit world. That's why when I got out of prison, immediately got into a ghost tour. And that's, the story continues with how that EVP capture spiraled me for even further and motivated me even further. But it's been a constant battle, and it's going to continue to be a constant battle. This is no easy field to get into. This
Mm-mm.
is nothing like you see on television.
No, it's not.
It is hard work. It is discipline. It is patience. It is education if you want to do this correctly. If you don't, and you just want to come in here for see how many likes you can get, to see how cool it is to do this and go out and do photo shoots, that's not the fun part of this, folks. Please leave the community. That's not why we're here. We're here to solve that mystery of life after death. plain and simple. That's why we're here.
In your book, you mentioned capturing an EVP that says you're not alone. In what ways has your work with spirit communication helped you understand that you're never truly isolated coming out of being incarcerated for that period of time?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's an amazing question. And when you're in there for that amount of time, like I said, you're in that cell by yourself. You have no one. You can't pick up the phone and send a text message and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" You begin to really get into your head. Now, when you're in there, all kinds of crazy things can happen. Tulpas, you name it. You can create your own kind of haunting, if you will.
Did you do that?
Absolutely. I stayed in my head for months debunking what was around me. And I became obsessed with saying, that's water dripping. That's a fan kicking on. That's a light buzz. And I became obsessed with doing that. And in doing that, I didn't know this at the time, I do now. But I've pretty much educated myself to every natural sound that's around me because you can hear a pin drop in those places. So when I'm analyzing an EVP now, that's a rock. That's a stomach growl. That's a bird. That's a pig. That's a dog. That's a dog in the distance. That's a car that won't turn over. All of these sounds that I heard in all that time sitting there, CL, they're embedded. And I can pick through false positives like crazy. And there's a lot of them these days. So many of them. Because people aren't doing something, one simple thing. It's this easy. You ask a question. Even after you ask your question, what is your name? You're waiting, and in between that time, you have silence, about 5 seconds or so. And you hear a sound, maybe a car door shut outside. You want to verbally note that. Note car door. No matter where it is in the recording, note that, because you're going to go back, you're going to analyze, you're going to hear, whoa, did you hear that door slam? Holy cow. And you're going to think the place is haunted, and it's not. It was the car door from the neighbor 3 doors, 3 houses down. Be aware of your surroundings and note them so you don't make that mistake later. That's the biggest thing I see. And it's so much, that's why it's so much fun doing this, is because you're going to sit there and pick apart your own evidence, and you should pick apart your own data. You can't sit there, capture a voice that you think says, I'm going to die in the barn tonight. And then you analyze it and it says, Johnny's going to die in the barn tonight. That doesn't mean it's a class A. Now, that's a class B because you had to alter it to make that Johnny come through. See? Now, if it was captured that way originally, then you could classify it as an A. And that's something that was developed years ago that's still used to this day and should be. I mean, sure, it needs some modification, of course, like everything else, but it's a great system. People stopped using it. They're just willy-nilly, check out this EVP I captured. Well, that's not an EVP because you're on a ghost box. See, so they're mixing, and that's a bad place to be. It's one or the other at the moment until we can figure it out. Now, you've got some great people out there making some strides. Ron and Lourdes, they're doing it with TDSE, with white noise. It's pushing the boundaries of communication. Are we having to have machines to communicate, or is it just consciousness? Is that all we need, is simple common sense and pure consciousness to communicate with the other side? Or do we need these machines? It can go either way.
That's an interesting question. You emphasize in your work that EVP is fundamentally about listening. Has listening to the dead taught you to be a better listener to the living and to yourself?
Yes. That's a great question. It has. I feel it has. I feel, in all honesty, I feel I'm a better listener than I am a communicator in all forms. Um, I've learned patience. I've learned the discipline. I've learned to go with the flow. And I've heard over the years a lot. So really nothing shocks me anymore. So I feel that it's made me a better listener, more in tune listener, one that pays attention, not one that just, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Somebody that's actually paying attention and listening so I can reciprocate and give you my opinion, you see. And I think that being alone all that time, it would change anybody. And it did, folks. You'll read in the book. It did eventually make me go insane. Um, but that's in there. You'll have to read that fun little story. 2 months in the loony bin. That was a good time. But I'm feeling much better now. No, but it was an experience, and having an experience like that, I think, changed me in a way spiritually, because I was raised Catholic, confused Catholic, very confused Catholic, because I wanted to steer this way, but yet couldn't. And I kind of broke free from that when I turned 18 and explored different types of things. I didn't know where to go, so I just found a personal relationship with a higher power.
So
That works for me.
are you recovering Catholic? That's
Yes.
what spiritualists will say.
Yes. I am a recovering Catholic. Big time.
So that leads me to this question. So obviously you've done a lot of work within yourself, communicating on the other side. In a way, you were kind of offered a path to forgiveness. And it's funny that this comes up because there's a guy I had a conflict with about 6 years ago. And we had another email altercation recently when he sent me a bunch of soliciting emails for money, believe it or not. Can't seem to get off his soliciting for money emails. But anyway, that's the first thing he did was he brought up something that happened 6 years ago. It's like, when do you let that go? So for you, you were offered a path of forgiveness. Does that help you kind of had more empathy for others and forgiveness and kind of like better understanding? And how does that play with communicating to the other side?
Oh, that's a good question. It does. What it does, what it did for me, it's beyond humbling, and it's really hard to explain to you folks how it is being alone, locked up for something you had no choice. You're there, but yet you don't have to be there, but you're there for a reason. So I accepted it. And acceptance being the biggest part of what I've learned and what helps me in the paranormal community as well with my investigations is acceptance, for one, that I'm not going to get something every time. I've accepted that. And you need to accept that. Respect. I laid there and, thought about so many scenarios when it came to our realm and the spirit realm, and the power that the spirit realm would have over our realm, and the respect that I must have for that. If I was going to cross that line, that I was thinking in my head as a skeptic, okay, Todd, you're about to cross this line. If you go there, you can't come back. You can't unbelieve. You can't unsee. So once I cross that line, which that's where the acceptance, respect, common sense took me there, because I couldn't explain why I was hearing those things. And I couldn't explain why I captured that EVP of a horse. So by having all of these imprinted in me, I guess, if you would, by just being there alone, I'm a better person because of that. And, people are going to change. This community is going to change. But life after death is always going to be there. It's always going to be there. And that is my motivation. I am trying to steer clear of what they're saying, and stay on that path. Because that's where the answers are that I need for me. You know, do I want you to also find those answers, CL? Absolutely. All these folks watching? Absolutely. But I want us to find them all collectively. You know, we've all chipped in to do the work. We've all done our part. Not just by mistake, but because we had to think through some of these scenarios that we're faced with. Some of these investigations we're put in. We're all put in these things for a reason, to figure them out. Most of us don't. We just grab the data and go. Stay there, collect it, develop a relationship with the place. You're going to get more and more and more. Use those things that are within you. You're born with them. Common sense, intuition. Use your brain. Okay, use your heart, use your gut. Go with your gut. Definitely go with your gut. My goodness, your gut is not going to steer you wrong. Go with those simple pieces of equipment that you bring with you, and you're just fine. You're going to be just fine in this field. It's when you step into the mainstream part, that's the fast lane, folks. Okay?
That's the fringe.
Stay out of the
I had
fast
someone
lane.
tell me recently, stay out of that fringe.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of Napoleon Hill? He wrote the 2 books. Here comes my nerdy side again, because I love to read so much. It's Outwitting the Devil and Think and Grow Rich. 2 famous books back in I believe the 50s that he wrote those. But both of them are about like connecting with your sixth sense.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, it's really neat. And I talked to another radio host, Greg. You know Greg.
Yeah.
He actually did this experiment where, just like Napoleon Hill does, he calls in, I think it's like 8 different spirits, and he kind of visualizes them around the table. And it was spirits that he wanted to connect with to get guidance. So it was like, for Napoleon Hill, it was all of the top inventors. So it was like Tesla and a couple other people like that, for the sole purpose of connecting with them and getting guidance from them on a project that he was working on. I think Greg, for him, it was, I forget what he was doing, but it was something like, I know Abraham Lincoln was on that panel. So you're kind of creating a spiritual panel to connect with for spiritual growth. Is that something you've ever tried?
Wow.
It's kind of like a seance, but not really.
Yeah, it's I have I have, and I have tried to communicate with so many. Edison, Sarah Estep, of course, and we still have our little code word. I've never heard her say it. You know, I've tried to connect, and it's almost as, and with mom and dad, I've tried it as well with them. It's a curiosity, and it's a motivator too. I mean, it really is, because you're like, okay, I've talked to them for 3 days now. They're bound to say something back, and they just may, but they may not as well. So you know, you have to, and it's not that, you know, that keeps you hanging on, because you do let go, you do grieve, there is closure. It's the EVP, the conversations, the delayed conversations, to get something from a loved one is not only closure, it's undeniable credibility to yourself that there is something after. Just hearing, you know, like if my mother were to record on one of my devices, like they did Frederick Jurgensen's, I would flip out if I heard my own mother's voice, because that would tell me undoubtedly there is life after death. There is something after we die, you know, because it wouldn't be residual. around here. It would have to be intelligent because she hasn't been around here. How does that work? I don't know. That's another show in itself. But just to have that kind of credibility it'd be astounding. That would seal all. For me, I'm not saying that would prove to the entire paranormal community that, spirits exist. For another quick example, I captured an EVP. It's on my website. It's called That's My Daddy. And that's a very special EVP capture of a little girl that the mother recognized as her little 5-year-old daughter that had passed prior to that. She'd passed away, and they recognized her voice. Of course, the mother starts crying. Then I start crying. Everybody's crying at this point. It was very emotional. And to have that kind of personal experience would be amazing. Like if I were to capture, and I haven't yet, a voice of a loved one or someone that I was really close to, that I could recognize that voice unmistakably, because it's going to sound different being captured on a machine. It's going to sound different. To recognize it would be amazing. It would be a breakthrough for myself. It really would. So that's what I'm after. That's what I'm constantly chasing, CL. Is that kind of validation.
That's the thing. We're all doing that. That's kind of like the haunted voice within that you're talking about.
Yeah.
We all are there. That's why we're in this. Well, most of us. That's why most of us are in this field. We're looking for something that validates what's after death.
Yeah, and the book goes into that more in depth on how it developed into my search, my journey through electronic voice phenomenon, and trying the different facets of the paranormal, and just finding a place with EVP and an acceptance with EVP. And I go into also in the book, there's a step-by-step process on how to analyze it. Using software, step by step, how to upload it to your computer, all kinds of stuff. Because there's so many questions I've gotten over the years. People they find, for example, they'll find cassette recorders in secondhand stores. They can record on them, but they don't know how to get that up to a computer to share it. Well, there's a free course over on the website now that tells them step by step how to do just that, how to hook it up to your computer, digitize it, send it on its way. So there's help out there now for people that need it. I didn't have it when I first started. I didn't have it.
What is that website?
EVPExplorations.com. It's EVP Explorations with an S.com. And it's all free of charge. Every bit of it is. There's 29 courses up there. All paranormal based, every single one of them, from paranormal ethics to EVP 101 through 103, paranormal 101 to 103, even how to use a Ouija board properly. Everything is on there, 29 of them. And there's a master course at the end that you take. In each one, you get a certificate of completion, except for the master course, you get a fancier certificate. I mean, that's hard work, going through all those. And there's so many people on there learning right now. There's one, she took 4 days, took them off work, and she completed all the courses. And
Wow.
she got the master course. And it's a start. It's a step in the right direction. It's free, and it is a way to learn. It's a way to come into this field, learn something. I'm not saying it's the only way, folks, or even the right way for that matter, but it's a way that worked for me for years. And I have learned, and I've made so many mistakes that I've learned from. Holy cow, have I made mistakes out there.
That's the thing. That's the thing about life. We all do, and we're supposed to make those mistakes. We're here to
have to.
Mm-hmm.
That way you learn.
Yeah.
I had to learn those things. I had to get through it. And I put all that into courses and they're broken down pretty well, pretty simple to follow. They're all text-based, self-paced courses. So, I mean, have fun with them, abuse them. They're sponsored by Broadhead Manor. They, my God, love those people. They, it got so bad, CL, the platform quit. We couldn't take any more. It maxed out, so they paid for the increase. So now we can accept more people. I thought that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. But I mean, it's a labor of love, the whole thing. The whole thing is just, it's fun. It's needed, I feel, right now, especially with the community, the way it's in. It's a safe place. It's something safe out there where there's no ridicule, no bullying, nothing like that, no drama. I don't deal with drama. I don't play that game.
I have one more question for you before we can wrap this up tonight. Sure. You dedicated your book to your wife, Sherry, whom you talk about a lot. And you called her your true light. As someone who has spent years chasing lights and shadows and voices in the dark, what have you learned about the light we carry within ourselves and share with others?
Oh, my goodness. That's an amazing question. If there is any light in my life, it is that woman. She's been through hell. Both her and I have been through hell. And when you're going through different relationships, and I've been through plenty, and you find that right person, your soulmate, if you will. It was almost instantaneous. And I'm 52 years old. I was in my late 40s at the time when I met her. But I was an older guy, so this wasn't no smitten kind of thing. This was a kapow, almost as if our chords connected again. And there we are. Because we've been a pair ever since. We don't argue much. We're in sync with each other. And that to me was my true light. And I've seen a lot of darkness. And I was in a dark place when I had met Sherry, and she had pulled me out of that darkness. It was an incredible ride. Incredible ride. She just pulled me right out of there. And I'm thankful and grateful, to her for the rest of my life. And then some. Absolutely.
Well, Todd, thank you so much for being a guest tonight. I just really appreciate what you do, and I have a lot of respect because you are truly one of those that I would say is a hero, and that's out there making a difference in the lives of others. There's so many people out there who are betraying themselves, especially in this field, as heroines, and they're just flat out not. They are terrible people. I hate to say that, but they're terrible people. They're out there for self-gain. They have a platform, so they're taking whatever they can from people. And, there's two kinds of people in this world, and it's givers and takers. Yeah. This is a field where right now we have too many takers, unfortunately. Yes. Everyone is out to take what they can. And you're not. You're kind of like a light. You have a lot of integrity, and you're just doing everything for the right reason. And I just really respect and honor you for that.
Thank you, CL.
Thank you.
That means a lot. Thank you.
One more time, where can people, I have the website up here. It's
sure. EVPExplorations.com. That's the website you can go to. EVPExplorations.com. It's got everything you need right there on the website.
Todd, thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks, CL.
You've been listening to the Gateway Podcast, broadcast from the edge of the Mojave where the strange slips through the cracks. Live from United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM New Orleans. My guest tonight was Todd Bates with his new work. And I'm sorry about the mishaps earlier in the show. So if you've missed the first half or you missed the show entirely because of the 10-minute delay, catch me again on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to watch the entire show. Next week, I have Michelle DeRochers from Canada is going to join me, and I forget what the topic is going to be about. But she's joining me next week, so stay tuned for that. Until next time.